Yeah, for that matter, yeah, just
And the
roll
moon
that.
kit.
Never mind.
Start rolling those hots. I'm mostly talking to myself, everyone. So pull that back a little bit, Keeve, just so we don't get the others accidentally. Be aware that it does have a cleave.
Yeah, I'm
And
turning it
maybe a
away.
whirlwind.
They do have an aggro drop as well, so watch for that.
Here come the other two. Okie dokie, that's all the trash. Hope you enjoyed it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
My trash drops. No.
Still have some after this boss, though.
That's true. There is trash
I'll have
after
a
this
chance.
boss. Thick, I did not mark you as a tank.
I heard it recommended that here you may want a pocket healer on the mage that will be handling Crush. I'm willing to volunteer myself for that.
Oh yeah, don't worry, we're getting there. There's a lot to talk about for this boss fight.
Absolutely.
So this boss is really deceptive in its complexity. It's quite a simple fight if we can do the pull correctly and kind of get organized at the beginning. So first, I'm just going to talk about each mob briefly in their approximate kill orders, and then we'll talk about the pull. So first up is Blind Eye the Seer. We're going to misdirect that to a tank, and we'll get our assignments in a minute. And we're going to have Tech tank it right over by that smoke flare. Now, Tech, there will be other tanks on the other mobs as we go along. After Skull is dead, just make sure you're following the melee and keeping up, what's it called, Sunder Armor for them. So we don't have that many warriors. But I assume you've got some good threat with that Thunder Fury, so we're putting you on the first kill target. So for the DPS, Blind Eye has a shield that he puts up, and he cannot be interrupted while that shield is up. This is significant because he has multiple heals. You just need to interrupt the heals, but don't waste your interrupt while he's shielded, because he will be immune to interrupts while shielded. I suspect you are all going to kill him very, very fast, and then we'll kind of be done with that. Next up is X, Olm the Summoner. So that one's kind of interesting. We're going to start with Cosmos tanking Olm the Summoner. And we may or may not do a misdirect on that. I'll have to count my hunters in a minute. But he will very quickly not be tanking it, because the Warlocks get to not mind control, but enslave an ad that he summons. Right at the beginning of the fight, as soon as we're in there, he's going to summon a giant Fell Hunter. And the first Warlock that enslaves it gets to have it. It does lots of damage, so if you want to parse big, you need that Fell Hunter. And it has a taunt, and it does a lot of threat. So we actually tank Olm the Summoner with the Fell Hunter. But once again, on the pull, just so he's not running around, causing havoc, we're going to have Cosmos tanking Olm the Summoner. And Cosmos, I want you to pay attention to the Fell Hunter ads, because they can drop out of Enslave, or sometimes the Warlocks aren't quick on the grab. So, be ready to swipe or taunt, Fairy Fire, just do something to hold them. It's actually more important than holding the boss. Because once the Fell Hunters are in play, you will not be tanking Olm anymore. You'll be on, watching the Fell Hunter duty. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so that's our second kill target. After that, the melee and the ranged DPS split. The melee DPS will be going to the head honcho, which is High King Maulgar. Oh, and by the way, as for where to tank Olm the Summoner, right where that first white smoke flare is. It's a perfect spot. But, the Fell Hunters are going to Fell Hunter, so if he's tanked in the middle of the room, it's fine, whatever. But it's either the middle of the room or that white smoke flare. I heard a question, go ahead.
To the smoke flare to the left?
Yeah, there's only one smoke flare out right now.
Right.
That one.
So we're going to try to tank Skull and X on the same place?
Yeah, if we can. They're casters, and one of them's tanked by NPCs, so we'll see what happens. If you guys can tank them together, great. But if they're not tanked together, Skull's going to die so fast, it won't really matter in the end anyway. All right, so that brings me to my next mob we were talking about, which is High King Maulgar. We're going to tank him right here, close to where we're standing at this smoke flare. We're going to have Kiev main tanking Maulgar, and we'll definitely use one of our Mr. X on that. He has a cleave and a whirlwind, so you want to be very careful with your positioning relative to this enemy. And melee DPS, you go to him, the big guy, after Skull and X are dead. So melee DPS will all go to High King Maulgar. You need to watch out for his whirlwind. When he's casting it, you run out. Very simple. Go back in. Keep DPSing. And he's not tauntable. So we're actually going to put 2 tanks on him. It's going to be Kiev and Boy So Thick. So Boy So Thick, you're there to give Kiev the armor aura. And you're there to start tanking if Kiev dies. And he might. This boss will do somewhere between 250,000 and 500,000 damage to Kiev over the course of the entire encounter. So
Okay.
it's good to have a second tank there just in case that tank goes down.
Now, since he cleaves, do you want me to stack with him, or do you want me to be on his butt?
You can be on his butt.
Okay.
The cleave he does is not going to matter so much for you as a prot pally. So if for some reason during the fight you feel that you need to stand in front of him, you can. The cleave's not going to kill you as a prot pally. We mainly have you there just to build threat, so you're number 2 on aggro, and give Kiev the armor aura. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay, great. So that's 3 of the mobs down. Any questions on those 3 mobs? We haven't talked about how the actual pull works yet, just the mechanics and the kill order thus far. And who's tanking them. Okay, great. So after that, while the melee are playing around with High King Maulgar, the ranged are going to go to Circle, which is Crush Firehand. This is probably the most dangerous mob in the encounter because he slings 9k fireballs. We have Rag to tank Crush Firehand, and there's something that all the DPS need to know, which is that Crush Firehand puts up a buff on himself that reduces his spell damage taken by a lot. And you might feel that you should purge that or arcane shot it or dispel it, but please don't. Rag has to spell steal it in order to tank him without dying. So please, please, please do not ever dispel Crush Firehand or purge him or any of those kinds of abilities. You can't arcane shot him because that will take it off. Rag has to steal the spell shield. So anyway, by the time you guys actually get to him, Rag should have a nice healthy threat lead. Feel free to misdirect to him again or whatever, but you guys should be able to just, burn it down, pump it down. Rag will keep on tanking it, and that's that. Now, as for where Rag is standing, Rag, we want you to be standing along this wall outside of Krosh's initial aggro range, where I just threw that smoke flare. And we'll talk about why in a second when we get to the pull. But we want you right there, and you're just going to park there. And on the pull, he's going to come to you, because we'll use one of our hunters for that. And then you start casting once he's in range. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. And you should be fine parked right there. We want to keep Krosh kind of along the side wall, because he has a melee range AoE. Or not really melee range, like 40-yard AoE, which is, again, why the melee DPS go to High King instead of him. But for you, it's pretty simple. You just spell steal and DPS and try to keep the threat. After that, the range go to Kigler the Craze, square over on the left, which is going to be tanked by Barry White. And as for grabbing that, just be over on the left side of the room, stealthed or whatever you prefer. Pop in the Moonkin form on the pull, throw some Arcane Blast, or not Arcane Blast, what's this ability actually called? It says Druid. Moonfire. That'll give you your threat. And it doesn't really matter where you stand. It'd be best probably if you stand near the middle of the room, just so you're in healing range. But the key is to keep him roughly where he is right now. If he moves forward a little bit, fine. But we don't want him coming across the whole room, because he also has an AoE. And he's very easy to tank. As long as you're in healing range, the healers are going to keep you alive. All right. Any questions from the tanks and the DPS order and the abilities?
Just one question. So
Yeah.
on Circle, the pets cannot get in, right?
Yeah, you don't want to send any pets in on square or circle.
Okay.
So just to briefly reiterate the kill order, everybody does skull, everybody does X, then the melee go to High King, and the range go to circle, and the range go to square, and then everybody's on High King.
So
and we'll hero on the pull. As long as the pull is clean, I'll call for it.
to any particular guy you want the Fell Hunter on?
The Fell Hunter has to go on X. So all the
Okay,
Warlocks, all of you can go for enslaving that first Fellhound. I don't care who gets it, but you have to immediately put it on X and use its taunt ability. And once that happens, Cosmos is no longer tanking X, and Cosmos is on like watching the Fell Hunter duty, so that if they do break out, you can grab it. Oh, you mean after it's dead? Yeah, I don't know where to send it after X is dead. I'll leave that up to your discretion. Just keep it far away from you, so that if it does break, it doesn't, instantly kill you, because it will one-shot you Warlocks.
Yep.
Okay. So the pull. I think I said this before. The pull really is the fight. If we do the pull correctly, everything just kind of falls into place after that. We'll have Rag standing, approximately here in his happy spot where he'll be the entire fight. And we'll use one of our 2 Mr. X for that. I wish we had more hunters. We definitely had 4 sign up, but we'll make it work with 2. So we'll use RVDS for that. So the pull will begin with RVDS misdirecting circle to Rag. Got it?
Sounds good.
And then the key, what kind of makes or breaks the fight here, is are we able to grab the other mobs before they hit RVD or Rag? RVD, be ready to feign if Krosh actually targets you with his first Fire Blast. It's a long cast, though, so you don't have to feign immediately. On the pull, we'll have our Discipline Priest, Priestara, have a shield on Rag, and your pain suppression is reserved for Rag. Rag, I want you to call it when you want the pain suppression, and when you'll want it is in the window of time where you're not going to have the spell shield and you see a Pyroblast coming in.
Okay.
Because that will happen at least once during the fight. So when you see that, when you can see into the future, you've got like 5 seconds left on the buff and he's casting a 6-second spell, call for Priestara's pain suppression, and that'll get you through it. All right, so for everybody else, I feel like what we should use the second misdirect for, Ghostly's misdirect, is to send High King to Kiev, because we want to get High King out of there as quickly as possible and over to the side where Kiev's going to tank it the whole time. So I think we'll use Ghostly's misdirect to send High King to Kiev. You got that, Ghostly?
Yep.
All right. So then for Cosmos, you just got to run at X and grab it as quickly as you can. For Tech, you got to run at Skull and grab it as quickly as you can. We don't have enough hunters to misdirect them all out. Try and keep Skull and X either in the middle of the room or over on the left where I threw that first smoke flare. I'll throw it again.
Got it.
And then Tech, once you're done with Skull, just make sure you're keeping up Sunder on the other mobs so that the melee DPS are happy. For the healers, again, we're going to kind of put Priestara on Rag because that shielding and that pain suppression is really valuable, so that's going to be your main healing target. The Holy Pallies are probably going to spend most of their time watching Kiev because Kiev is going to take some big bad damage. That tank takes more damage than like all the other tanks put together, except maybe the Mage. So I think we put both Holy Pallies on Kiev, unless there's any disagreement with that.
Nope, I'm cool with it.
Okay. I'm going to do Resto Druid stuff and just hot everybody. Umji and Sinope, I'm going to give you guys kind of some free reign. Do keep an eye on Barry White because he is a tank, and keep an eye on Cosmos and Voice So Thick, just in case things go weird. As for where you should stand, Barry, well, I guess it's not Barry that's asking the question, it's Voice So Thick asking. Barry, do you feel like you know where you need to be?
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so I'm feeling ready for a pull here. Do we have any questions or complaints before we give it a go?
You want me to run at Maulgar as he's being pulled back, or just stay back in this corner here?
Stay back. He's fast, and we're misdirecting him to you.
All right. So people just hold off on zugging.
Oh yeah, you guys need to keep it in your pants for a solid 5 seconds on this fight to get everything in position. And then if things go correctly, then we're gonna go bananas and hero and cooldowns and everything.
Just give me some time.
All right, that's a ready check for pulling the boss. Don't hit ready unless you're ready. Everybody hots on the pull. You definitely want to load Kiev up, because Kiev will immediately start taking just truckloads of damage. Again, he's going to take anywhere from 1/4 to 500,000 damage across the entire fight.
Okay, I'll wait until Cataclysm and I'll come back.
Here's your pull timer. Hunters, get ready. Tanks, get ready.
5,
Let's roll.
4, 3, 2,
1.
Warlocks, get that Fell Hunter as quick as you can. And pull it back to the wall, Keith. Alright, this looks good. Let's hero. Blow him up. Sinopi, you're standing a little too close to the mage mob. When Skull's dead, you all go to X.
Fellhound's down.
Alright, Cosmos is tanking it again. Pull it away from Square, please, because Square has an AoE. Skull's dead. Keep our bears alive. Summon a new Fell Hunter. Someone grab it. Rag, you might be a little too close to your mob. Alright, melee, you go to High King. Range, you go to Circle. Watch that whirlwind, melee. Rag, you are such a Chad. Look at you. You're not
He's
even
not
taking
taking
damage.
any damage.
You're not even
No.
taking damage.
I'm trying.
I
Well,
just
don't
keep
try.
watching your health bar. I've had a Nature's Swiftness ready just for you.
Yeah, I hope fire is helping him.
Yeah,
Oh, there
I
we
popped
go.
everything I could.
I got you.
Oh, there's a Fell Hunter loose. At range, you should be on Square now. You are great. Alright, so we've pretty much killed the boss now. Just keep Keeve alive, watch that whirlwind. At 50%, he'll start hitting a lot harder. So if you've gotten accustomed to the amount of damage Keeve has taken, know that it's about to increase by a lot. No range, no! You're gonna have no deaths. You got knocked into the whirlwind.
Our execution
So
score.
sad.
Be aware that after 50%, he can charge into the ranged and then whirlwind. So range, you'll want to move away if he does that.
Got my finger on Divine Shield.
RBDS, you blew it. You blew it, man.
G kick.
I love you, but you blew it.
This was gonna be perfect.
You got,
Wonder-
and just for the record, so everybody knows, I know we're all new here. That was a knockback from Square. He has like a 40-yard knockback AoE that you don't want to get hit by. This is still, you know, a one-shot and probably one of the cleanest one-shots of this boss on this server in Classic TBC, so you all deserve a nice clap on the back for that. Good work.
Everyone
Beautiful.
teabag the
Yes.
hunter.
Yeah, everybody get in there. Teabag RBDS. He blew it. The execution score, he blew it.
The worst.
Take me a
Great job,
picture.
though, everyone. Seriously.
And look at this. You see this? Tree stomp. That's what you get.
Stomp him into the ground like he deserves.
All right, let's see what dropped.